also address the same problem. So we necessarily need to put a fire hydrant that meets state and fire code and the DSA requirements for this portable, as well as to cover the school. Our architect of record has presented a proposal to do both the fire hydrant and the portable, to work to do both, so we can get it through DSA, and we can do that in a timely fashion. To stay a little bit ahead of the curve, we made a tentative appointment with DSA for May 31st across the counter, so with your approval, we'll hit the ground running again on this project. So I'm asking the board to approve the contract with our architect of record to provide architectural services and engineering services for both the portable and the fire hydrant as one contract.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Have you decided where it will go?
Yes, it's sort of geometry, really. You've got to make a circle and where it reaches all the buildings. So it's located on the bank just above the art portable on the back near the creek. So it has the benefit that it'll cover all of our existing buildings, all the more recent generation of portables, as well as the new portables, as well as any modulars. We put 21st century modulars in the future. So that was the basis for the location. It's within 400 feet of all of those buildings. The thing that makes it understandable why they didn't do that in the past is that the interpretation of the code is such that if you are within 400 feet, you know, there are two hydrants on Martha, and there's one on Martha and one on Glorietta. And if you were to draw a line as the crow flies, you would be okay. But they don't do it that way. They require that you follow the emergency vehicle access, which is around the back of the school. So you lose the shortest distance between 2 points by that way of doing it. So that's why we have to do it. So we're, I forgot my point. so that's why I say, that's why we located it there.
Any other questions? Any comments from the public? The board?
I move we approve the contract with HY Architects for architectural services for Gloria Portable and Fire Hydrant.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. On to action item K, contract with American Asphalt Company for Wagner Ranch parking lot.
Once again, I'm taking my direction from the board. The board had a really, really good idea, and that's what we did. To separate the playground project from the parking lot project that we associated as one project in the past. It makes it feasible to move ahead with the playground project if we get the parking lot done, and we can hit the ground running on that one on June 13th when school is out, and have the parking lot completed as we go through the final phases of approving with the division of the state architect, getting board approval of the plan, and then getting contracts. So it buys us another week or so to get that to happen, so we can bring those things to the board at the June 13th board meeting, and we still have time to make the playground happen. So we went out to bid and got 3 bids from J.B. Lucas, Paving of Lafayette, GNS Paving of Oakley, and American Asphalt Repair and Resurfacing of Hayward, California. They were the low apparent bidder at $54,541. The other bids were a little higher at 56,000 and 61,000. If you recall, when the board asked me how much did I think it was going to cost, I said about $60,000. And it seems I was in the right ballpark with that. So if we approve this contract, we can get the parking lot done. I think it's a much improved plan. If you've ever parked in that lot and tried to exit, or it's just very oddly done. And it was done that way because I understand that ramp up used to be a two-way, so cars would come down and then they would turn in that circle, half-circle drive, which explains why it feels so awkward to go in and out of there. So the only way you can really properly do it is turn right, go around the complete circle, and then go out again. This way, it will be configured so there are 2 lanes. There's 4 additional parking spots created, which will make a lot of people happy. And we lost the parking spaces next to the playground, but we're going to gain ultimately 4 more spots. And it's a more commonsensical kind of configuration of the parking lot. So it's in and out, and just makes, it's just a much better layout. So we are recommending approval of the low apparent bidder, American Asphalt, for this parking lot.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, just one question, Stuart, and thank you for including the contract and the diagram here on page 349. But I was just curious, so it says not in contract for the part where there would be removing the parking spaces, so we presume that that would be done by the playground contractor?
That's correct. We exclude, you see it extends into the handicap spots because we don't intend to change those. Those will remain. We're just adding some additional ones beyond the handicap spots, and also some additional ones where that curved driveway is.
Any other questions?
And I think there was a light pole, you're relocating the light pole.
Yes, we're relocating the light pole.
Is that it? Any comments from the public? Back to the board. Discussion, or move on for action?
I move we approve the contract with American Asphalt Company for Wagner Ranch parking lot reconfiguration.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We will now review consent item M, contract with HY Architects for exterior painting project for all school sites. Sarah?
Yeah, I'll start, and thank you, Stuart, for putting this together, and it looks good. I know we've talked about painting our school sites several times under our Fund 4D discussion, and I'm noting that it says the total cost would be about $300,000 for the painting. The reason I pulled this was just, I feel like color is really important, and I mentioned it before, but I see it in the architect's proposal on the page 83 that it says colors for each school have been selected by the staff and will be made available for inclusion in the scope write-up. I just think if we're having an architect coordinate this, and architects usually have a more aesthetic eye, I would prefer asking him to also take a look to make sure our colors are color coordinated or whatever beyond, unless, Stuart, you have already done that in some other way.
Ms. Butler, if I may, I did receive a couple of questions from members of the board about the selection of the colors and getting a little more input into the process. Colors of schools are important. We have our students going every day learning and our staff working there, and we want them to be, while we may not be able to make everyone happy, it's good to get input as we can. And so I think, Mr. Howes, you're going to be working with the architect and the painters to provide perhaps a couple, 2 or 3 different choices of aesthetically pleasing options that should be workable from which the staff can give input, maybe the leadership team, parents clubs, and staff members can potentially vote and then come up with the option that most of those stakeholders would like. And it may mean that some schools will be slightly different colors, but they still would be those that the architect and or the painting firm feel like are aesthetically pleasing and workable. So I don't know if you want to add to that, but
No.
you were very agreeable to that.
That's correct. At the urging of the new superintendent, we were going to make this a more stakeholder-friendly process and invite input from the principals and the parent club and others. We do have some consultants from painting companies, from Sherwin-Williams and the other one. I can't think of the name of it. Kelly Moore, thank you. Kelly Moore, and we're going to be looking at those different samples and sharing them with the principals and with the parent clubs if they are interested in helping us select colors.
That sounds great, and I just wanted to clarify, I wasn't trying to slow the process down. I know you wanted to get this done this summer, but I assume you can do all that relatively quickly.
And I had asked Mr. House if that would be possible to still obtain that input from staff and some parent representatives, and you assured me that you felt like it would still be able to keep us on track, because even with the potential facilities bond, it'll be some time before new facilities. I mean, it's a lot of ifs, so we'd have to pass the bond and get things going with it. So these are colors that we're going to be living with for a few years at least, and so we want to try to make them agreeable to as many of our stakeholders at the school sites as we can.
Great, thank you.
So, third question to the board. Any comments from the public?
I'm just gonna stand back here to save time. I didn't hear neighbors mentioned, and I know that when we were talking about solar, they were a real important stakeholder group. So just to make sure for the record that we also include the neighborhood folks.
Any other public comment? On for action.
I move that we approve the item number M on the consent calendar, contract with HY Architects for exterior painting project of all school sites with the addition of getting input for colors.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. We're going to move on to discussion item C, common tech experiences. One doesn't have to see her forever. And then we will take a short break. As opposed to the natural moment. So this is a really big risk, because now everyone's sort of thinking about break. But I'm going to be super
Only
confident.
about technology.
Only technology.
Patsy, you'll be so
And then break.
fascinated, we'll forget that we even were thinking about it right now.
Well done. I agree wholeheartedly. I'm going to get my computer up. I'm going to come too, I think. Maybe. There we go. Little mini happy dance. So in your packet, you have this document called Common Technology Experiences. I wanted just to give a little bit of a backstory to this before I go on to show you what we are creating now in terms of a website. So I come to you tonight as the technology coach, the teacher on special assignment job, and I've been here with this position for a few years, and I've seen lots of great changes. One of the wonderful things about this district is that teachers are eager and determined to make the best situation possible for the students that they are serving. And doing that meant digging in and creating some technology, using technology as a teaching and learning tool, and they hadn't done that before. So we're talking 5 and 6 years ago, and lots of things have changed since then. One of the committees district-wide is the Orinda Technology Advisory Council, and as that district committee, we have parents from every school site, teachers from every school site, and we oversee the tech plan. Part of the tech plan, this latest plan was to devise a document called Technology Experiences that would be common to all grade levels. Because teachers have developed these really wonderful lessons, activities, and projects that were serving some students, what we really found to be necessary is that we wanted to spread that out to all students and make sure that it was equitable, no matter what classroom you happen to be in, no matter what school and grade level. So a year ago, the teacher reps from OTAC created a document that is called Common Tech Experiences, and it's across the board. So TK to 8, we have similar components, so we have 6 components no matter which grade level, and they're really just broad strokes of what we want to make sure that every grade level, every student can experience throughout their experience in their academic career in Orinda. So that was a year ago in March. We introduced it to teachers, both in K-5 and the middle school, and received great feedback. More importantly, received a huge brainstorm list of activities that are already pointing to these very components. So we kind of felt like we were in a good place. We wanted to continue this good work, and again, make sure that it was available to all students and not just some. So this year in the tech plan, we talk about creating some specific lessons, not just a list, and then wondering how did you ever get to that lesson, but we actually then created a particular site. Go back home. So we created a site that would be able to house all of these lessons, and then each lesson would actually give teachers nitty-gritty details about how to go about providing that experience in their own classroom. So this year we not only invited OTAC representatives, so those are the 5 teachers one from each site, but also contributors from other school sites. So we have typically 1 grade level per school, and we each met for 1 half day. So we have what we call initial contributors, because this website is always evolving and we're always going to be inviting submissions. But for now, this last spring, we had the teachers that you see here on the website provide lessons that are found on the website so that any teacher can take a look at that and explore that kind of experience for their students. We went to OIS on a different half day and just worked that entire staff. So we have small groups in K-5 and then a large group at OIS. So those are our initial contributors. And like I said earlier, the idea is really just to create a meaningful experience based on these common tech experiences and be able to have a place for teachers to go in order to know what to do with the healthy inventory of technology that they are so lucky to have. I wanted to go ahead and just show you a little bit about the website. We quietly introduced it in the spring. It's not really officially launched yet. We will officially launch it in the fall. And to that end, our council will continue to monitor and take a look and see how well it's being received, what parts are being used, what parts need tweaking, and so forth. But I wanted just to go ahead and show you what it looks like from the end user at this point. Every grade level has its own page, and as you see on your hard copy, the tech experiences are listed here. And so for first grade, you have the components, and then underneath each component for that grade level, you then have specific lessons. So a teacher can find this website, grab a couple of ideas, and then see if they want to go for it or not. I'll go ahead and show you one particular lesson, mainly because this is really consistent with all the lessons. Every one of the links that I just clicked on, that's probably, but these are all links to a Google Doc. So each one of them has their own Google Doc. And this is, by design, super consistent. So we want teachers to be really comfortable and familiar. We don't necessarily need them to stay at that one grade level. They can hop around and see what else is available to them at any grade level. It gives them plenty of information to take with them. So they'll give them a target grade level, an estimated time as to how that teacher actually used this particular lesson, and then whether or not it's adaptable. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see a typical description, sort of like a teacher lesson plan. What common core standards might be addressed, what kind of setup might be needed, what kind of resource they use, and so on. Suggested showcase strategy is how they chose to post their work, and then any example that might be available to us. On the left left-hand side, we'll start at the bottom, on the left-hand side, for every document, the teacher's name who submitted it is also there, which we found super important. We wanted that to be really important because we want dialogue to be going on all the time. So if you like this, but you have a question, then you click on Aaron Miller's name and there goes the email to Aaron Miller. On the other part of this left-hand document, the left-hand side of this document is really the three areas that teachers who were submitting these initial lessons had to keep in mind. It wasn't just any lesson that was going to land on this website. It really needed to incorporate the components of the common technology experiences. That's what you see at the top. This particular lesson has 4 of the 6 components. And then the 2 other elements to it we found to be really important, and that is making sure that we address the 4 C's, so the 21st century 4 C's, so communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And if there's a check mark by it, a teacher can simply see, aha, this might look good if I'm looking for ways to incorporate that. There's another concept that teachers are talking about lately, and that's called SAM, or it's an acronym, and it's a philosophy, or a concept rather, that really helps us to dig deep into how we leverage technology. And without going into great detail, I could probably spend another 10 minutes just talking about SAMR, but I'll go ahead and just invite you to think about it as a swimming pool analogy, and that is substitution would be like swimming in the shallow end, kind of getting your feet wet, getting used to what it might be like to use a tech as a tool, where redefinition would really be redefining your lesson, swimming into that deep end. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing both. In fact, you want to. If you were only in the deep end all the time, it would be pretty exhausting. Shallow end might be fairly boring. So you want to make sure that we have a lot of opportunities to swim in all parts of the pool. So we talk about that a lot with teachers. It's not an easy concept, and in fact, teachers are now talking about how do I make this, how do I make the substitution lesson a little deeper. And that's a fun conversation to have because everybody's out there to figure out which ways can we best leverage technology so that it really means something to the students, makes it that much more meaningful. So that's one simple example of a lower primary grade. I want to go ahead and just show you, again, each grade level, easy to find. I'll go ahead and find a 4th grade. Same kind of format. If I click on 4th grade and I wait patiently, it's going to pop up with the 4th grade components, right? And then below 4th grade, you'll have specific lessons. And you'll notice, if you're taking a close look, that some of these lessons are repeated. And it's because they actually address more than just one component. So that's something that teachers will probably blob onto and think, haha, I can get one lesson and address a number of components. But same idea, still points to a Google Doc. So we've got now a lesson activity that points to an ELA on Common Core. And it's really a summary of a book report, but instead of just a summary, it's actually creating a student-driven project that the 4th grade teachers are calling a book selfie. So this one actually has teacher name, but also has a sample, which for teachers is really important. And for good reason. So you'll have an example of what this teacher ended up doing. And to this end, it's all for the taking. And that's so important, especially with technology. It's just out there. And so teachers can take it and then run with it, do what they like. So all of these links are free to view. And then teachers can just make their own copy and then tweak it as they see fit. So this is, like I said, this is the 4th grade example. If I can scroll to the bottom, this is what they end up with. So I'm doing that for protective purposes, but well, all of our students look like that actually. We're all very happy. So they take their own picture, which is why it's called the selfie, and then within that, they're going to create their summary. So that's a quick overview as to what the website will look like, is looking like now. We'll continue to add on and build and tweak it as we go, but overall, we really want this place to be where teachers can hang, share, submit, trade, explore, and then have that be an experience that all students in Orinda can appreciate and enjoy. All right, thank you.
Informative. That was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Sure.
I love to see this, thank you very much, and that we do have, I guess these are really goals by grade level.
we call them experiences, and to that end, yeah,
Okay.
it's general terms, but we really are encouraging teachers to explore what they're doing and to see if what they can do would point to something with a little more similarity, so that we can be that much more consistent.
Right, so teachers clearly have access and will use this. So my next question is this something that you were intending would eventually be shared with parents or not, or what?
So the intention, and Kathy, just chime in anytime you like, the intention is really for teachers to use as a resource for them.
Yes, and we will make the website available to you. I'll send you the link so that you can explore it as well. But I think we really want our teachers to become very familiar, and then I think our teachers will be sharing tips or follow-up down the road for parents.
Great.
School for teachers to share lessons really and really sit down and knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was also thinking it shows a parent, if they don't know what's sort of grade level appropriate in terms of technology that their child might be learning, but the downside of sharing it, of course, is then you're gonna get parents making their children practice typing at home or whatever, you know. I don't know, just, you know, that's why I was asking you, I didn't know if there was an intention about that or not.
I think the only thing I would add to my comment, Sarah, is that we want this to be open-ended. While we have common experiences, we want teachers to be able to look at those components and think, how do I know my class the best, I know what tools I have, I know what feels great for my group, and then make that professional decision and not be beholden to a particular idea because it's on a website. It's just an idea, and it's a good idea, that's why it's landing on the website, but we don't wanna, you know, seal the, you know, have
Yeah,
to seal
it's
the
not a
door.
requirement. Great.
Any other questions?
I just have one quick question. I think this is so great, and I think we've heard several times in comments as teachers, that teachers are teachers, and sharing, but we're also grappling with resources. So that's a way of asking you, Patsy, is it takes a lot of work to create a website, and is this created in a way so that teachers can do the upkeep, or does this put more time on your time card to keep this up? Yeah. I'm guessing the latter, but maybe you could educate us a little bit
Right.
about
No, it's-
how much it takes to do something like
So
this.
the
Yeah.
reality is just that a website is, especially I think the more seamless looking a website, it takes an enormous amount of time to build that and then to keep it up. That we really want this to be a growing document, growing, evolving website, and that will take some time. The lessons themselves are simple Google Docs, right? So that's pretty self-contained. Teachers are invited to submit, and we'd like that to happen, so that we really create that collaborative atmosphere. So, having said that, there needs to be some cleanup on that end as well. So if there's a lesson that comes in and it really does need a little more tweaking here and there with technology, or let's say, for instance, the suggested showcase strategy is to print something, I may add something else to that so that we can be a little more 21st century, we go a little paperless. So there are pieces of that I'll curate, and then yes, I do the connecting of the dots. So to that end, while it may seem like more work, I think it's what we all talk about. It's like, well, what's worth the work, and it definitely will be worth it when we see teachers being able to go to one place and exchange ideas. And even to that, on the website, you'll have other resources as well. So it really is a one-stop place. This is just a plethora of resources that are happening within the district. And then for someone to say, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was going on. I want to hear more about that. That really, really intrigues teachers. That answer your question, Jason?
It does.
Any other questions?
So one more question, and this comes from, and this sort of follows up on my previous question, and I'm not trying to dictate anything, but I'm just curious about it. You know, as a board member, we've walked around, gone on school site visits and various things, and hear from parents. my impression is it helps students when they do, and not that I'm only focused on testing, but the CASP test now, they're on the computer. So it does help them if they're more familiar with keyboarding skills than not. So is there some part of that teachers are, I mean, you do have the goals stated before the kindergarten thing in the board packet, but is there some part of that you're kind of not saying, that are teachers encouraging students to do the keyboarding part, or, you know, could you help me out with that question?
Sure, I will try my best. So one of the components, number one actually, in every grade level is keyboarding and publishing. So, and I like the bookends, I like number one, it's pretty important, you've got to know how to keyboard. And the sixth one, which is, you know, it's last but definitely not least, which is digital citizenship, and that's across the board as well. So looking back at number one, if you look at each grade level, then by design it builds on the skills. So in kindergarten, we really are just looking at experiences that students can identify letters, and then helper keys, which are homework keys. With the onslaught of iPads, you know, we do a lot of tapping now instead of keyboarding, and that's okay. It's still letter recognition, and they're still getting some experience in that. But as we go through, well, you've got your hard copy. Yay! Yay for paper. So as you go through each grade level, the keyboarding will still continue to build. We are intentional at third grade to begin the formal keyboarding process. It didn't used to be that way up until 2 years ago. We didn't start formal keyboarding until fourth grade. But with the introduction of online testing, it was important to try and get a formal experience under our belt before springtime of third grade. So third grade now starts a formal keyboarding. But that's not to say that's really all that they need. And in fact, teachers who are creating this document would be really quick to say, it's not about just the keyboarding practice. It's a bit like piano practice. You really need to practice playing the songs as well, not just the scales. So authentic typing, and that can happen TK to 2 and then beyond, is equally important. So while we have formal keyboarding in third grade, before that point, we are constantly working on authentic typing experiences. Does that help?
Yeah, and just in case you didn't know, you know, when my kids were in elementary school, we did teach type to learn, and starting in second grade by a computer teacher, so this whole thing has changed dramatically, so that's kind of why I was asking.
Well, we still use type to learn in the primary grades, or I should say grades 2 through 5, and then at sixth grade, it's part of the cycle, which is a different program, typing tournament. But both of those typing programs are adapted, so that we may introduce them. We hit pretty hard at the beginning of the year to get them sort of a boot camp element to it, getting serious about their keyboarding, and then it tapers off just because other things come into play. But they go constantly practicing that and moving along with their own pace.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for this presentation.
Any other questions? Any comments from the public?
Yes, Charles Shan, CTA president. CTA. Oh wait. I was sharing with Kathy Marshall, it's really exciting, but one of our think tanks in CTA created what's called the Hub. And it's the same kind of idea, but it's all the teachers throughout California that are submitting things to the Hub. You also can blog on that and do a variety of things, video. So it's really exciting. So it sounds like kind of in tandem at the same time, we're doing those two things, but it's a one-stop. So it's very exciting. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Are there any other comments from the public? Board discussion right now.
I'll just add, you know, Patsy, we don't get to see very often in the boardroom, and I just want to let you know I get so much positive feedback about the job you're doing for our district. I feel so fortunate. While I was sad to see you leave the classroom having your own class every day. Now I get to see the other side of it, which is that the district wins by having you take on this position, and your work with teachers, your work with administrators, your work with students is just so meaningful. So thank you so much.
I miss our Malachi days too. And you're right. I think that's what makes coaches really good coaches. Is they really are a classroom teacher, and looking at it from a classroom perspective really does provide
also.
Thank you so
I really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you. Can we take a break now? So,
Why don't we just take a 5-minute break?
it is cold.